This is insane. Stranger Things. Season 5 is finally here, and I'm not kidding. This might be the best ending the show has ever delivered. But of course, the finale leaves us with about 1,000 questions spinning in our heads. What exactly is Vecna's grand plan? And why does he need Will specifically? Why is the 12 children thing so important? Who on earth is 008 really? And what does Kaylee's sudden comeback mean for 11? And Max and Holly, where are they? How are they trapped? And more importantly, how did they get out? And what about Will's power? How did he suddenly unlock abilities that look suspiciously like Vecna's own? And trust me, there's a tiny detail about Will's new powers in the final scene that almost nobody noticed, but it's going to be huge for the second half of season 5. I'll get to that later. The season opens with Hawkins fully quarantined, basically becoming a giant forbidden zone. Meanwhile, the party has been doing strategic crawls into the Upside Down, trying to chart the terrain and figure out how the whole place is shifting. Things fall apart when Hopper ends up trapped inside the dimension again, forcing 11 to rush in for a rescue mission. She eventually finds Hopper, and after an emotional but slightly awkward reunion, they decide their next move, infiltrating the military base that the government secretly built inside the Upside Down. Because apparently, Dr. K has captured Vecna and is conducting experiments on him. Because of course, someone always has to poke the monster. After some classic 11-style acrobatics and telekinetic chaos, she breaks into the facility with Hopper right behind her, dramatically offering to sacrifice himself. His big heroic speech goes absolutely nowhere because he does not die, thankfully. And they storm deeper into the lab. Finally, they reach the containment cell. But then, plot twist. It's not Vecna at all. It's Kali. Yes, that Kali. 008, 11's sister. She's the one Dr. K has been using as his psychic battery. Shock, confusion, emotional trauma, all packed into a single reveal. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the Upside Down, Dustin, Nancy, Steve, and Jonathan hit a massive problem. A giant, disgusting, fleshy wall that looks impossible to get through. While Steve and Jonathan are too busy subtly fighting over Nancy like it's a middle school love triangle, Dustin picks up a strange radio signal. At first, everyone assumes it's coming from the military base, but no. Dustin realizes the frequency is coming from inside the wall itself. Using his unmatched nerd logic, he calculates that the wall forms a literal circle around the entirety of Hawkins. And at its very center sits, no surprise, the Hawkins lab, the birthplace of all their trauma. According to Dustin, this is no coincidence. Back in quarantined Hawkins, Mike, Lucas, Robin, Will, and Joyce are working on a separate mission, rescuing the children Dr. K kidnapped in his attempt to bait 11. The problem? K thinks he's playing chess, but Vecna is playing 4D horror chess with extra blood and tentacles. Vecna had disguised himself as Mr. Whatsit, a gentle, friendly figure who tricked the children into trusting him. So gathering every child into one place is basically the worst possible outcome, and our team realizes this a second too late. They try a messy, chaotic escape plan involving tunnels, plumbing systems, and a questionable number of toilets. But before they can complete the rescue, Vecna storms in and unleashes his Demogorgons in full force. Vecna escapes with the kidnapped children, but not before confronting Will and delivering a chilling monologue about why he selected those specific kids. He explains that they're weak, physically, mentally, emotionally. Easy for him to mold into perfect vessels. And then he tells Will something horrifying. Will was the very first one, the original blueprint, the proof that certain minds don't belong in the real world. They belong in his. Vecna leaves thinking Will is broken and powerless, but Will proves him wrong. Robin's earlier pep talk echoes in his mind, mixed with memories of his childhood and simpler times with Jonathan. Then comes the moment that instantly became meme material and legend. Will taps into his newly awakened telekinetic powers and obliterates the Demogorgons closing in on his friend. Fade to black. Fans scream. Netflix crashes. The usual. But there's one more story thread, Max and Holly. Holly ended up trapped inside Vecna's mind place, lured there by the Mr. Whatsit disguise. And somehow, Max is in the same mental labyrinth, wandering through Vecna's memories, trying to find a way out. Once Vecna leaves to go after the children, Max and Holly finally meet and come up with a plan to escape. But they need time. Lots of it. So Max sends Holly back into the illusion, telling her to pretend everything is normal until Max figures out a real exit. And that's where Season 5, Part 1, leaves every major storyline dangling over a cliff. So, the big question, does Will actually have powers now? And how did this even happen? The answer is yes. After everything Will has been through, the upside-down possession, the mind flayer infection, the Demogorgons, Vecna's psychic grip, something inside him finally awakened. Will has developed abilities that mirror Eleven's, but until now, he couldn't tap into them because he was still struggling with his identity and fear. This season, we actually watch Will open up emotionally thanks in part to Robin, who not only encourages him to embrace his sexuality, but also pushes him to stop living only to please Joyce. So when Will's nose starts bleeding in that final scene, it's shocking, it's powerful, but it feels completely earned. After all, Will has always been the sorcerer of their Dungeons and Dragons group. Maybe the signs were always there. Will might be the one who sacrifices himself to defeat Vecna. What do you all think? Drop your theories in the comments. What do Will's new powers mean for the Hawkins squad? When Will channeled Vecna's energy at the end of episode 4, everything changed. As Gaten Matarazzo put it, that moment literally flips the board for the group. Now things are more evenly matched. Something that is probably terrifying for Vecna. Finn Wolfhard even joked that now we basically have two 11s, and Matarazzo added that having two superpowered best friends on your side is insanely badass. Part 2 of Stranger Things, Season 5 drops with 3 new episodes on Christmas Day, followed by the grand finale on New Year's Eve. You can check the exact premiere time for your region online. But before you dive into these last episodes, you might want to revisit Seasons 1-4 and try the official Superfan quiz. And of course, stay glued to Toodum for every new Stranger Things update. Now, who exactly is 008? And what does Callie's return mean for 11? She's officially back. Kaylee was introduced way back in Season 2 as one of the other test subjects from Hawkins' lab, like 11, but with a different mutation. Instead of telekinesis, Kaylee can plant vivid hallucinations into people's minds. In that controversial Season 2 episode, 11 ran off to join Kali and her punk rock squad. And for years, fans believed it was a secret backdoor pilot for a spin-off series. That never happened. But the Duffers clearly never forgot about Kaylee. Now she's returned at a crucial moment, and she's more important than ever. Her psychic abilities make her a valuable wildcard in the battle against Vecna. Imagine the combination of Kaylee plus 11 plus Will. It's basically Hawkins' version of the X-Men. And emotionally, Kaylee's return hits 11 hard. For years, she believed she was completely alone, but now she has a sister again. There's no doubt that Kaylee is going to play a massive role in shaping 11's final arc. A cross-country superpowered road trip, anyone? Do you guys think Kaylee will be the key to defeating Vecna? Comment your theories below. Where are Max and Holly? Max and Holly are stuck inside a dimension fans are calling Camazotz, inspired by the alternate world in A Wrinkle in Time. This realm appears to be a psychic construct built by Vecna, his personal mind palace, which makes his line to Will, "Some minds simply do not belong in this world. They belong in mine." Much more sinister. Vecna deliberately trapped Holly in Camazotz by disguising himself as the warm, gentle Mr. Whatsit. He lured her there by promising safety from the monsters roaming outside. But thanks to Max, Holly now understands the awful truth. The nice man is actually the monster who created the nightmare she's in. Holly's real physical body is likely stored inside Vecna's lair in the Upside Down, wrapped in his tentacles as they siphon away her life force while her consciousness is kept calm inside Camazotz. And considering Vecna's end-of-volume kidnapping spree, it's almost guaranteed the other missing children will show up there too. Another looming question: why is Max there? When Vecna tore open the final gates last season, he must have unintentionally pulled Max's mind into his own psyche. Her real body remains in a coma, but the mental version of Max is walking freely inside his memory realm. Strange as it is, this might actually work in their favor. Max is able to guide Holly and eventually the other kids toward escape, something no one else could do. Will Max find a way out of that place? How could she possibly escape? Comment your theories. And finally, who is Mr. Whatsit? Remember those classic warnings about never trust strangers even if they seem friendly? Mr. Whatsit is that warning incarnated. He appears to be a comforting adult figure offering safety, reassurance, maybe even candy, and then traps your consciousness in a false version of his childhood home while draining your actual body in the Upside Down. His name, of course, is a deliberate reference to A Wrinkle in Time, where Mrs. Whatsit introduces the heroes to the Tesseract and the twisted dimension of Camazotz. The parallels aren't subtle. How does Season 5, Volume 1 connect to the stage play Stranger Things, The First Shadow? The real-world Creel House, which played a huge role last season, is also a key setting in the stage play The First Shadow. The play explores Henry Creel's backstory, showing how the family moved to Hawkins from Nevada and how Henry first came to understand his frightening abilities. This ties directly into the themes of Season 5 and the evolution of Vecna's power. There's another clear nod to the stage play hidden in Season 5, and it happens during Max's chaotic journey through Vecna's memories. At one point, she pops into Hawkins High School, where a younger Joyce is directing a student production of Dark of the Moon. This isn't just a cute Easter egg, it's a direct tie-in to The First Shadow, the Stranger Things stage play, where Joyce is once again staging that same show. And without spoiling too much of The First Shadow, let's just say that Dark of the Moon becomes pretty significant during its ending. With this clever inclusion, it seems Season 5 might slowly weave in more elements from the play as the story advances. Who dies in Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 1? Surprisingly, and almost suspiciously, none of the main characters die in Volume 1. A miracle. Hopper comes terrifyingly close, delivering what sounds like a final farewell speech to Eleven, but he survived, at least for now. Either Hopper is genuinely ready to check out, or the writers are keeping him alive because they know fandom would riot. Personally, I'm betting on the second option. Meanwhile, Dr. K ends the episode unconscious after trying to stop Eleven from reaching Kaylee. But let's be real. She's definitely coming back. I mean, you don't bring Linda Hamilton, the one and only Sarah Connor, into the story just to use her for a couple of scenes. She's too iconic for that. So, what's going on with Nancy and Jonathan? Nancy and Jonathan are technically still together, but things are messy. According to Natalia Dyer, the biggest thing happening right now is the chaos of fighting Vecna. Everything is so intense that there's a natural distance between them. She adds that there are conversations the two should have had but didn't, which leaves tension hanging in the air. Still, they're trying to stay in sync, and the hope is that they can eventually land on the same page. Alright, before Vecna cuts our Wi-Fi again, hit that like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers, and every single one of you is part of this Hawkins crew. And why is Dustin acting like this? This season, Dustin is still deeply grieving Eddie Munson. While most of Hawkins is convinced Eddie was a murderer, Dustin knows the truth. Eddie died a hero. That's why he proudly wears his Hellfire Club shirt in tribute. But his grief has also taken an unhealthy turn. Dustin has been getting into fights with school bullies, and his friends are starting to worry. When Dustin's reckless behavior stops him from participating in a mission, he and Steve have a heated argument in episode 2. Matarazzo explains, everyone is dealing with the fact that, in their eyes, Max just vanished, and Dustin is not helping his friend heal from that. He adds that Dustin seems to feel guilty for not being able to save Eddie, so he's throwing himself into danger as a way of compensating. Joe Keery, Steve, says his character is doing his best, but admits Steve is being controlling and not very understanding. Still, Keery enjoyed exploring this new angle in their relationship. It's not always jokes and banter. This adds another layer to their dynamic, and it comes from a place of genuinely wanting to protect my friend. What exactly is Vecna's plan? And why does he need Will? Season 4 ended with Nancy, Robin, and Steve brutally injuring Vecna and forcing him to retreat into hiding after their attack in the Creel house. So when Vecna emerges again in Season 5, Episode 4, he isn't just back, he's on a mission. Ross Duffer says they wanted Vecna's reappearance to be a big, unforgettable moment. His entrance through the military's Max Z gate into the Upside Down was heavily inspired by Darth Vader's iconic arrival in Rogue One. The moment he stepped through that gate, you could feel his presence. You could feel how terrifying he was. Once Vecna captures Will, he finally reveals his master plan, reshaping the world. For this, he requires 12 children, whom he considers the perfect vessels, easily manipulated, mentally fragile, and simple to control. Vecna admits that Will was the first child who showed him what was possible when he possessed him back in 1983. Now, Vecna intends to use Will one last time as his personal spy, but Will fights back hard. His eyes go full whiteout in a scene so intense that Millie Bobby Brown said she was speechless. Noah Schnapp described the moment as a dream come true because Will finally stands up to the villain who has terrorized him for years. He's such a suppressed character who never gets to speak up. In the early episodes, you can see him wanting to express himself. Schnapp told Tudum to be powerful, direct, and strong. It was incredibly satisfying to play. The hand movement Will uses to channel this power originally referenced the 11th Doctor from Doctor Who, with his palm facing downward. But Schnapp says they ultimately chose the upward-facing variation, making it look like Will is literally pulling power out of Vecna. What's coming in Volume 2? The next 4 episodes are shaping up to be massive. We'll see Will grappling with his newly awakened powers, and 11 reconnecting with Kaylee, which could change everything. Meanwhile, Nancy, Steve, Jonathan, and Dustin head back to Hawkins' lab to figure out why the story keeps looping back to that place. And of course, Max and Holly's escape plan is just beginning. Vecna's plot will continue to unfold, giving us even more of the villain as he moves toward his final goal. And yes, the Duffers have confirmed a bit of justice for Barb. Everyone's favorite missing character will appear again, though not in a pleasant way. Expect to see her corpse in the Upside Down, wrapped in vines and half buried. So, justice? Finally, let me know in the comments. Did you enjoy Season 5 so far? And trust me, I already know exactly what's coming in Volume 2, but I'm only revealing it in the video dropping later today. Don't miss it.